Pete Hegseth continues to prove that managing national defense might not be his strongest skill. And I say that because it's hard to ignore the pattern. It sometimes feels like members of Donald Trump's cabinet are competing to see who can be the least effective at their jobs. And somehow, Pete always manages to stand out on that leaderboard. It's not exactly an achievement to celebrate, but the track record speaks for itself. Repeated controversies, questionable decisions, and a general sense of disarray within the Pentagon. And today is no exception. The latest directive from Secretary Hegseth is backfiring spectacularly, sparking backlash not only from Democrats and top military officials, but even from some of the same media voices that once supported him. That's right. The same right-wing outlets that helped shape Pete Hegseth's public image are now calling him out, revealing internal frustrations and fueling one of his toughest weeks yet. We're going to unpack all of that. How this policy misstep is unraveling, why it's causing chaos behind the scenes, and what it means for the administration moving forward. But before we dive in, please take a second to leave a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps us keep bringing you detailed, fact-based coverage. Now, before we look at how conservative media itself is turning on Pete Hegseth, let's start with another powerful voice, former President Barack Obama, who recently called out the growing politicization of the U.S. military under this administration. It's a clip worth watching.
That's not who we are. That's not our idea of America. We don't want masked, folks with rifles and machine guns patrolling our streets.
Yeah.
We want cops on the beat who know the neighborhood and the kids around, and that's how we keep the peace around here. We don't want kangaroo courts and trumped up charges. That's what happens in other places that we used to scold for doing that. We want like our court system and our Justice Department and our prosecutors to be, and our FBI to be, just playing things straight and looking at the facts and not meddling in politics the way we've seen lately.
There are so many objectives Donald Trump wants to accomplish by militarizing ICE, sending in the National Guard to blue cities across America. These attacks on blue cities have three purposes to me. The first is to just create a general culture of fear. Donald Trump wants you to be afraid. Donald Trump wants you to try to detach from politics and not pay attention because it's so stressful. The second thing Donald Trump wants you to do is think this is all normal. To be comfortable with military and ICE in the streets constantly. That's not the case. But the third thing that Donald Trump wants you to do is, of course, to believe that this is his army, that they serve him, and that the government doesn't serve you. Donald Trump wants you to believe that this is his government. That is not the case. This is still our government. We are still in charge. An oath is sworn to the Constitution and to the people, not to Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth. Although Pete's latest directive, not the one that MAGA is freaking out about, but one of the stranger ones, kind of runs counter to that, and it's really weird considering what a fat Donald Trump is. I want to take a look. Standards are back. Pete Hegseth sends fat troops home. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on Monday confirmed that he sent some National Guard members in Illinois home over their weight, saying standards are back in his department. Following his speech for top military brass earlier this month, where he argued against fat troops and fat generals, Hegseth confirmed he had sent some overweight members home, the Daily Beast reports. In less than 24 hours, Texas National Guardsmen mobilized for the federal protection mission. A department spokesperson told military news website Task and Purpose, The speed of the response necessitated a concurrent validation process during which we identified a small group of service members who were not in compliance and have been replaced. It's unclear if Hegseth or his department saw an image circulating online of several service members arriving in Illinois. The National Guard Bureau also shared this statement in the days after the image was taken of some overweight troops. National Guard soldiers and airmen are required to meet service-specific height, weight, and physical fitness standards all the time. So you can't be too fascistic for Pete, he loves that. But you can be too overweight. Should he give a call then maybe to our 215-pound president, Donald Trump, who's just clearly lean muscle is all he is? It's a lot of turkey burgers. It's a lot of kale. He's got what were the indoor bikes that you do? Or maybe he is on the earth. Donald Trump just loves to row. We know he is in peak physical condition. I'm lying. This is a joke. I hope you know I'm bullshitting. But Hegseth is focused on one thing and one thing alone: aesthetics. He doesn't care about the clear abuse of power, number. Of course he encourages it, and he now wants to abuse his power not just on American streets, but in the Pentagon deciding who can cover his idiotic behavior. But MAGA media outlets of all people are pushing back, exposing what Hegseth is trying to do and blowing up his plan. Newsmax joins major media outlets in refusing to sign on to Pete Hegseth press restrictions. Pro-Trump cable news outlet Newsmax refused to sign. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth updated press policy on Monday, joining legacy media outlets that condemned Hegseth policy as press intimidation and a violation of the First Amendment. Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, put out a statement on Monday saying, "The Atlantic's journalist will not sign the Pentagon's press release. We are fundamentally opposed to the restrictions that the Trump administration is imposing on journalists who are reporting on matters of defense and national security." He added, "The requirements violate our First Amendment rights and the rights of Americans who seek to know how taxpayer-funded military resources and personnel are being deployed. We will continue to cover the matters of defense, war, and national security independently and fairly." The Washington Post, CNN, The Guardian, The New York Times, and several defense outlets all refused to sign on to HEG's new policy as well. Far-right One American News Network was the only major outlet so far to agree. A media reporter added that Newsmax would also disappoint the administration despite being a reliable Trump booster. Newsmax has no plans to sign the letter. "We are working in conjunction with other media outlets to resolve the situation. We believe the requirements are unnecessary and erroneous and hope that the Pentagon would review the matter further." The outlet told the reporter, Heath's new policy banned Pentagon reporters from asking for or obtaining any information that is not explicitly authorized by the Department of Defense and gave reporters until Tuesday at 5 p.m. to sign onto the new policy or lose their access to the Pentagon within 24 hours. Of course, Hegseth is, a former Fox Weekend morning show host who has been embroiled in several major scandals since taking over the Pentagon, including discussing war plans, a Signal group chat, which included Goldberg. So Newsmax, the company that I believe employs Matt Gaetz currently, refused to agree to the terms dictated by Pete Hegseth because they were that extreme. Newsmax, yes. The MAGA host at Newsmax, you are still hearing me correctly, told Pete Hegseth to off. And how do you think he took that? Well, he responded in this post. Hegseth posted on Twitter, "Pentagon access is a privilege, not a right." So here is Department of War press credentialing for dummies. Press no longer roam free. Press must wear visible badge. Credentialed press no longer permitted to solicit criminal acts. Done. Pentagon now has the same rules as every U.S. military installation. Okay, Pete, let's get this straight. You're spending more time restricting the press from reporting on your failures than actually fixing the problems you were appointed to solve. That's not leadership, that's avoidance. It's incredibly disappointing that even some conservative outlets like Newsmax couldn't support this latest move. What Secretary Hegseth seems to be doing is trying to shift focus away from real issues inside the Pentagon, particularly the constant flow of leaks, many of which have come from his own team. These reports have highlighted the administration's inconsistencies, including claims about military operations that were later proven to be exaggerated. But instead of addressing those failures, Hegseth is trying to label the leaks themselves as the problem. Let's be clear. Responsible journalism and internal accountability are not what put our national security at risk. Poor leadership does. The failures being reported are the danger, not the act of reporting them. And this attempt to equate oversight with sabotage is deeply misleading. We've seen this tactic before. It's the same argument we hear from Donald Trump when he complains that 97% of the media coverage about his administration is negative. Pete Hegseth's focus shouldn't be on silencing the press. It should be on leading effectively, supporting the people who serve under him, and respecting the public's right to know what's happening inside their government.
Today, we're signing a letter of acceptance to build a Qatari Emiri Air Force facility at the Mountain Home Air Base in Idaho. The location will be host a contingent of Qatari F-15s and pilots to enhance our combined training, increase lethality, interoperability. It's just another example of our partnership.
The reporting that somehow there's going to be a Qatari base on United States soil, that's just not true.
I'll be honest, I was frustrated today, and I think that's completely understandable. There are days when it's hard not to be. But if you connect with that passion, or if you appreciate these honest conversations, you can support this work by subscribing to the channel and leaving a like on this video. If you made it all the way to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments, and until next time, I will see you soon.